Hello, my name is DJ Schultz, Assistant to the President of the North Wisconsin District, and it's my job to talk to you today about Standard 3 leadership. Standard 3 leadership is broken into two sections, and both of those fit into the definition on the page that says the school is governed and administered effectively following written policy. If you believe what the author John Maxwell says, that everything rises and falls on leadership, you can see why this standard is so important for your team. We're going to go into the two different areas, 3A and 3B, separately, because each of them have some concerns that you really want to think through as a team member. When you start with 3A, which is boards, that could be a traditional model of governance. It could be policy-based. A lot of policy-based is a hybrid of how they do things, and it might be different than how you do things at your school, how decisions are made at your school. There is going to be oversight, though, at that school in some capacity, and that's what you're exploring in your role as a board member, especially on 3A. So when you start going through 3A, we want you to look for things about roles being clearly defined. Not only are they clearly defined, are they written? And that's really great if they are, but if they are defined and they are written, is there evidence that they're being implemented as they say they are? And as you're looking for that, is the board staying out of the day-to-day operations? A school might say, hey, that's how it works for us. The board is deeply engaged in the day-to-day operations. Then you'll score those things accordingly as you go. But that is not the best practice or the best practice standard that NLSA is holding its schools towards. Some important areas in 3A to think about, there's four of them. One, policy manual. We're not talking about policies that say, can I bring my pet to school for show and tell? We're talking about written policies about the function of the board. Are there specific roles defined? Are the people and their roles and the things that are important for the running of a school in that document? Most of us have been in schools where something is either not written, or if it is written, it's not being followed. That policy manual is a very important key piece of evidence. Second of the four is strategic plan. A strategic plan needs to be more than the current school action plan for accreditation. Some schools may be wrapping all of their strategic planning into their school action plan, but most aren't. So where is the document that says what that school is trying to accomplish in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years? Even more than that, is there even further long-range planning that's being done? So when it says strategic plan, don't just look for that school action plan. Press for other documentation about strategic planning into the future. And in the self-study, that talks about needs assessment and goals. Is there a needs assessment being done, and are there goals being set through that strategic plan? The third of the four is an annual evaluation. Is there a written evaluation of the administrator each year? Does it happen? And is that process working? And through your interviews, you'll be able to find out through evidence how things are going with an annual evaluation. The fourth of the four is board training. Is it written about the plan for board training? Does it happen? And is that working? Sometimes there's a grand plan for board training, but they never get around to it. Sometimes there's nothing written, but sometimes things happen that would be considered board training. You're looking for, is there a written plan? Does that plan happen? Is it implemented? And is what they're doing working? That's 3A. 3B is the principle. When you look at 3B, there's an overview of the standard about it being equipped and empowered with an emphasis on sharing the gospel. Is the principal equipped to do the job? Are they empowered to do the job? And is there an emphasis on sharing the gospel? So as you think about these next things that come up, that is the overarching theme of 3B. There's a big question that comes up with a lot of teams with 3B, and that's what if your team walks into a place that has a principal vacancy? And they ask, how do we score it? I'll tell you that the standard is whatever is happening now in the school is what's being scored. Sometimes schools will want to write about what they used to do when there was a principal here, or what they're planning to do when the next principal comes. But your job as a validation team is to score what is happening right now. They might not have a principal because it's a vacancy, but they might have a vice principal. So what is happening now? It might be the pastor who is the interim principal. What's happening now? It might be a teacher or a team of teachers. What is happening now? Maybe it's a board person, a board chair that is running those kinds of principal duties. What is happening now is how you score it. A school may have decided that they wanted to do a vacancy or an extension for a year because of the vacancy, and then that vacancy went 2 years, and now they couldn't get another extension. So you have to do the best you can with what you see when you get there, and what you read in the report should be evidence of what is happening now. The second thing I wanted to share is that there is a tricky standard where you might have to score a 2 when you have a principal who has a doctoral degree. And that seems weird that in that one standard, why would we score a principal with a doctorate degree a 2? Because obviously if you check the other boxes, you might not be able to say or check those other boxes because they might not have a state certification or they may not be eligible for the roster. So all you can do is follow the standard and check the boxes that you can. And just because a principal has a doctoral degree does not mean that they can automatically have a 3 or a 4. And just score them accordingly. So there you are. That's standard 3, leadership. May God bless your leadership as you serve this thing we call NLSA. God bless you.